Hello everyone, my name is Olatunji Balogun and today I'll be talking on HIV criminalization in Canada. First and foremost, I'd like to start by defining HIV. HIV, which is the human immunodeficiency virus, is a sexually transmitted disease that attacks the immune system as well as the natural defense system. Now, according to the Canadian statistics, about 80,000 people or more in 2015 have HIV in Canada. People with HIV are also regular humans and they live their day-to-day lives as those without HIV or with other diseases do. Now, let's talk about HIV and its criminalization in Canada. HIV criminalization in Canada. In many countries, including Canada, people living with HIV are being convicted of serious crime offenses and sentenced to a significant time in prison for not disclosing their HIV status. So that is, people that have HIV who do not disclose this are being convicted just for not disclosing this. Even when there is no transmission and people have taken highly effective precautions that mean the risk of transmission is exceedingly small. In other cases, people are facing more serious discriminatory charges simply because they have HIV, even when there is no risk of transmission. These misuses of the criminal law are often done in the name of public health. Yet, there is no good evidence that the criminalization of HIV non-disclosure and of people living with HIV is effective at preventing HIV transmission. In fact, HIV criminalization undermines effective public health initiatives such as HIV testing, counseling and support, and partner notification. And also, it leads to human rights abuses by increasing the stigma and discrimination faced by people living with HIV.
Now, I will be discussing laws that criminalize HIV in Canada and its disadvantage. People living with HIV can be charged with a criminal offense if they do not disclose their HIV status to their sexual partners. The criminal offense includes assault, aggravated sexual assault and common nuisance. Assault. Under the criminal code, a person commits assault when he or she applies force intentionally without the other person's consent. This force is this force in regards to HIV is mostly touching or sexual force. HIV non-disclosure equals fraud according to the law and invalidates consent. The maximum imprisonment for assault is 5 years in the Canadian system. Now, assault has a long way to go. With assault also, there's so many people that use assault as claims, whereas they have given consent, they have given verbal consent without recording this consent or without having proof of this consent, but still charge the fellow sexual partners of assault. Aggravated sexual assault occurs when an action endangers the life of another and can result in imprisonment for a maximum of between 10 and 14 years. In the Career case, the Supreme Court decided that an HIV-positive person who has had unprotected sexual intercourse without disclosing his HIV status is guilty of aggravated assault because of the risk of infection with HIV, which endangers the other person's life. Common nuisance. Under the criminal code, a person is guilty of this offense if he or she fails to discharge a legal duty and as a result endangers the life, safety, or health of the public. People living with HIV have a legal duty to disclose their HIV status before engaging in any activity that carries a significant risk of HIV transmission. The maximum term for this conviction is 2 years.
Take, for example, in the Mobile case, the accused was being charged with 9 counts of aggravated sexual assault based on his failure to disclose his HIV positive status to 9 complaints before having sex with them. But none of the complaints contracted HIV. The court established that failure to disclose that someone who has HIV before sexual intercourse may constitute fraud violating consent to sexual relations because HIV possesses a risk of serious bodily harm and the operative offense is one of aggravated sexual assault. Now, with me, I have my good friend and fellow researcher, Michelle Williams. Hi, Michelle, how are you today?
Very good. How are you?
Not bad, thank you. So I just have one question for you, and then I'll let you go. Now, HIV, right? People with HIV are being criminalized in Canada for not disclosing the sexual, the sexual disease that they have to those who they have sexual intercourse with. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, seeing it from the partner's point of view, I personally would like to know if someone has a sexually transmitted infection or transmissible infection before actually going into bed with that person. So for not to disclose HIV, especially sometimes they just HIV which hasn't or which it can, it's fair on my own part or on their own part.
That's an interesting point, Michelle. And this is my last point before again I let you go. So with what you just said now, right? If you were in the situation and you had sex with someone and later realizing that they have HIV, but you did not contact HIV, would this change your perspective on the situation, or would you want to sue the person for not disclosing that information to you?
Personally, I don't want to go after every lawsuit that I can get my hands on, so I'll probably just let it go, but not get involved with that person further, because it's a breach of trust for me. It's a breach of confidentiality, a breach of the friendship we should have shared.
Okay, thank you so much for doing this, Michelle, and I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching this today. In conclusion, I believe that HIV criminalization in Canada should not even be a topic. I believe that people should be charged for the individual offenses regardless of their sexual disease or whatever disease they have. For example, are we going to say people with gonorrhea or syphilis are going to be charged for other sexual diseases? They're obviously not, because they didn't disclose this to their sexual partners. Should they be charged or should they be sued for non-disclosure? It is their problem. You chose to have sex with them. You chose to risk this before having sex with them. I believe we're all mature and grown people. Those who have sex should be mature and grown people. So they should have thought about this before going along with whatever they were doing. People pick up people daily. People go to bars. People have one-night stands. These are common things that happen every day. Are we going to say before this is done, before every sexual intercourse happens, you have to ask, do you have gonorrhea? Do you have syphilis? Do you have HIV? No. That's just the way the world works. You don't have to ask. You don't have to give consent. And HIV, and people should not be criminalized just because they did not. Damn it. Just because they decided to not disclose the disease that they have. Personally, I would like to say thank you to everyone who has watched this video. My discussion questions are being posted, as well as my references. And again, my name is Olatunji Balogun, and I just spoke on HIV criminalization in Canada.